xBuilders podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of the xBuilders podcast. Today, I have with me Robert Sasu from MultiversX, and we are going to have an awesome conversation around Web3 games and on-chain games. So, hello, Robert.
Hello everyone, nice to talk to you today.
Yeah, great to have you here. So, let's warm up by giving you a little context about yourself with a quick introduction, like your background experience and what you've done basically before MultiversX.
All right, so since I was a little child, I enjoyed programming, mathematics, and physics. So going into engineering and going into blockchain and AI was pretty natural for me. Since being a child, I was in the maths and informatics Olympiads, and then went to Bucharest to do software engineering and finished with my master in artificial intelligence and virtual reality. After that, I worked on graphics engines, especially at Google Summer of Code and at a local Romanian company doing airplane and airport simulations. Then moved on to Continental to work on self-driving cars. And I was there for 3 years, did around 20 or 24 patents about self-driving cars. It was a fun life. In some sense, I tried to change a little bit too much, and the corporation, it's they are dinosaurs. They don't really want to change. And in a coincidence, it was that I saw from the MultiversX at that time, Aeron Network, their first meetup in Sibiu. It was in October 2018.
Oh.
And then went there, started to talk with the guys. It was a Friday night, asked a few questions. After that, researched a little bit. And then on Monday, my boss sent me a stupid mail, and then my boss, and the first reaction to that mail was to send my CV to Benjamin. So that's how it started.
Oh, that's a nice story. So can you continue on that, how that went, and how did you end up actually joining Elrond at that time?
Yeah, so the process of interviewing and challenges was pretty long, even at that time. I had several discussions with the team, with Benjamin. I had a challenge to do at that time, and it was my first time writing in Go. But Go is a pretty simple language, so you can do it even with C++ or C# knowledge. In a few, just you have to push yourself a little bit, and in a few days you can do it. And while this process was long, it was strange that Google searched for me, and they wanted me to interview for them for going to Switzerland and work on basically AI. But I did went to Switzerland, did all the interviews and stuff, but I found that I would be like a simple cog in a big machine, and I wanted bigger changes. So I took a leap of faith and I said, okay, let's stay with this startup and let's pass on for Google. And it was a rather good choice.
So you are happy with the decision?
Yeah, I am happy. I was happy from the first moment I joined the team. So it was pretty awesome doing state-of-the-art technology and researching it and making all these new changes without any limitation, and being free from all the corporate stuff and being able to build whatever you imagine. And being around with a great team, you can have all those super nice debates about ideas, about how you can make an idea even better, how to challenge one's ideas. And it was really nice that nobody was like taking it personally. So there were ideas, there were discussions, even if somebody didn't said that they have a feeling that the idea is not so good, then let's challenge it, let's try to make it better, let's improve it. And that's how we built up like even our one of the first prototypes and all the systems, and it remained in the team. So we have like a big, let's not necessarily a process, but it's an internal process where you write the specification in a sort of Google document, 1 or 2 pages at most, because you don't need to write bigger deals. And then you ask for others to challenge those ideas and to give you feedback and to give you, let's say, separate solutions or alternative solutions for it. And in general, you start with an idea, and after a few back and forth on the document, you get to the version 2 in a pretty fast way. And the version 2 is always like much more efficient than the first one.
Yeah, yeah, that makes perfect sense. So, what is your role right now in MultiversX? Like, how does a day look like for you?
I am core developer, so part of the core team, taking bigger decisions and having bigger meetings with all the core teams on the directions of like the protocol, the VM, processing, API, and even strategic decisions. We are in generally taking by making a consensus between us. Discussions and debates and taking a strategic direction where to go. I especially lead the virtual machine and smart contract development team, where we develop the WASM VM engine, the Rust framework, the smart contracts for X Exchange, and for all the modules we build, all the standard smart contracts, everything regarding the X Exchange from price discovery to Launchpad to all the and especially all the smart contracts what we are launching. And then I am like connecting guy between the smart contracts and the other layers like microservice and front end. That's like my role. In general, like 80% of my time, it's about writing specifications, or not like specification like in corporate. So it's in Google Docs, super easy, and in a straightforward manner, not L1, L2, or I don't know how many layers. But it makes sense to make sure that the idea goes through for all the teams. I have quite some meetings, and for any like these kinds of specification, you have to do a lot of research as well, and always searching for like new things to bring in. Like I have 20% of my time to do coding, and
yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you, if you still have time to
in that time
code.
I mostly write Go code. So I work on the protocol on the processing part, or directly in the VM, or like in the system smart contracts, let's say. Yeah, one of the last things I was coding was the governance smart contract.
Yep. So can you, I like everything you say, sounds so interesting, and you guys are working on so many things. Can you talk, or can you remember the last big challenge that you had? I don't know, a big struggle that you had in the recent period?
So I would like to talk about like last 2 ones. There is the sovereign shards. You might have heard here and there.
Sure, yeah.
Like doing all the specification, research, and optimization in your head and in the documents of how to build up such a system was a pretty big task, and it took me quite a time, like almost 6 weeks. I have rewritten the specifications 4 or 5 times. So it's like you got the new ideas, better ideas, let's delete, let's restart. And then right now I'm sort of like trying to write code there and lead what happens there, because it's not only about like the protocol, but it's also about smart contracts as well, and connections between them, and web and API as well. So that was like getting we see all the L2s, or we see what is happening at Cosmos, or we see what is happening on the bridges in general. And there is a general consensus of like how bridges are working. You have a multisig in both chains, and you have a set of relayers. And then it's quite not necessarily optimal, because you have proof of authority of those few nodes who are making the multisig. Even in an L2, you have a 3 out of 5 or 5 out of 10, and they are holding billions of dollars, which is actually not good. And those keys, if they are like hacked, it's really not not fun.
Not an
like in
optimal
the
scenario.
Ronin bridge attack, which was a sort of L2, but it was a bridge. And then you have to come up with something new. And like everybody is having ideas and stuff, but how you make it better? And like one of the ideas, Cosmos and IBC, it's nice, but they are not directly connected to Cosmos. If they want, they can connect to it, but it's not like written in the consensus. So that was one of the big changes on the sovereign shards, where the validators from that sovereign, everybody is actually responsible of keeping the sort of bridge. But it's more like a bridge because it's actually built into the consensus mechanism of the sovereign shard. So handling incoming and outgoing transactions, it's actually built into the consensus, and every leader and every validator has to do it. So it's much more like a tight connection to the main chain, while maintaining your sovereignty. That was like and this idea, this breakthrough came after quite a few iterations. And the other thing is like account abstraction, which we have to see that we can do a lot more about, like, for the users with account abstraction and like allowance, approving a few transactions, making it easier for users to connect, and also making it safer by not telling them the 24 words,
phrase,
the phrase. And account abstraction, it's like a big research. Even on the Ethereum community, they have some ideas, but you can go even further on that. And I think that MultiversX has better primitives with the tokens, and with the ESDT tokens, with the transfer and execute, and with upgradability of smart contracts, all kinds of things like that, and relate transactions and the guardian transactions, which are guarded accounts, which are coming in the next release. And using all those features and building up a better account abstraction model is something which I'm working on right now. I managed to do a few breakthroughs, especially in terms of like subscription models, but I want to make it more general. And by meaning more general, I think more useful for Web3 games.
Oh, yeah, I mean that I'm very intrigued about about this because yeah, kind of, as you said, account abstraction is kind of an industry challenge right now, and it's been for some time. And yeah, I am very intrigued by
Yeah, and
by
having
this,
a
and
standard and having a standard
yeah.
smart contract and interaction already built and audited by, for example, by our
Yeah.
team. After that, like everybody building on top of that gets a boost of like a speed boost of how they can do things.
Yeah, of course. I mean, having those building blocks is very important because it allows you to move faster, safer, better, and yeah, they're like very, very important. And compounding all of that will help projects a lot. And people coming and building, wanting to build on MultiversX, they will have faster onboarding and faster, basically, reaching production time. So let's jump right now into our main subject for today, and that's kind of Web3 games and on-chain uh, games. Uh, can you start off by explaining very quick the difference between Web3 games and like traditional games that I'm sure we all played at one point? And basically, yeah, what advantages do Web3 games present over traditional games?
I think one of the basic principles, and from where should we start? It's like ownership, and ownership of things, and ownership of what you do actually in a game, and that thing actually count, like making a counting, for example. That's the biggest change. So in a Web2 game, you could play even for example in an MMORPG where you would go there, you would buy with your own credit card, debit card, some items, and then you are stuck in the game.
Yeah.
And if that game is, for example, it's getting old or you are finding a new game to play, it's pretty hard to sell those items and move on to a new games. You are kind of bounded into that game.
Yeah. And
And
games even like try to force you. I mean, in most games, is there in terms and conditions that you are not allowed to sell anything, and if they catch you, they basically ban your account even. So
yeah. So if
yeah,
there are workarounds. People would sell like
sure, sure.
full accounts because they cannot sell items actually, and
Yeah.
they do all kinds of things like this. But and yes, so traditional games might evolve where they, let's say, they allow to for you to sell in an internal marketplace a
Yeah.
few items, but it's always about trading and always about like remaining inside. That's good for their economy, but it's not necessarily good for the bigger gaming community. And it's always like a choice whether I want to start this game, to invest in this game or in that game. And
Yeah.
in things with things like this in Web3 games, where you own whatever you want and whatever what for example in an idealistic world, every item you have in a game, every sword, every apple, every coin, everything, you actually own it as a token on a blockchain.
Yeah.
Then you can easily put that on an open marketplace and sell them and move on to a new game, get back to this game, make all those kinds of changes. And I think that by doing this, like Web3 games can be much bigger than Web2 games as they will allow this flow of assets. And like even from the royalties of selling those items, and even if those royalties are just 1% of stuff like that, it's still super like in the end, the game developer will get much more back, and
Hmm.
the gamers will like it more because it's a more open
Yeah.
society, and they are more free to do things um, with this part. But
Yeah.
so this is what I think this is like the most basic principle
Hmm.
regarding this.
Yeah.
Sadly, if we go a little bit to disadvantages,
Sure.
the onboarding is quite hard as of right now.
Yeah.
So I see here, and two things which a little bit I am getting annoyed about like Web3 games. It's like too much focus on the economic side and like making sure that your initial
Yeah.
investors will get their money back, or that that your token will get a value and all sorts of things, then like working on the actual game itself.
Yeah.
So I would much rather play pay for a game, play it, and have a pretty good game, and after that enjoy the benefits of blockchain, than to invest in some tokens and get rich and stuff like that, for having the dream of getting rich about it. Because gaming, it's about like this feeling, this freedom of playing, and it's about like it's not about making money, and
It's
a
about the
game shouldn't
experience
be
you get.
about making money. It's about like having fun,
Yeah.
and having fun while thinking about making money. It's not the same thing. Come on, you want to have you want to like enjoy the things. So those are the two things. Like onboarding has to be
Hmm.
super simple. For 99 or 90% of the users, let's say, or 99% of the user, they shouldn't even know that there is a blockchain on like the behind it. And only for those who really want to see and they really enjoy these things, or every user should be able to switch in and out, switch into full blockchain mode, but it shouldn't be like mandatory.
Hmm. Okay. So over the past years, we've seen multiple approaches on this, from using the blockchain only for value transfer, or moving the entire logic on chain, really. So, what are the pros and cons here, on building games fully on chain or partially on chain? And what are some of the challenges? As you mentioned before, onboarding is clearly one of them. Uh, yeah.
Yeah, so in terms of like development challenges,
Hmm.
it's quite easier to write in your own private data center, private database, run your
Yeah.
own private servers, make, for example, restarts or rebuilds for that, caches and everything, and have all the logic there, and put up a community, or not a necessary community, put up like if people are asking you stuff or something happened, you can easily restore all those things.
Yeah. Sure.
But it doesn't mean that you cannot do it like in a blockchain. And here it's like where sovereign shards, I think, will come and will offer a lot in this. Since now, like there were quite slow blockchains and smart contract execution environments.
Hmm.
You couldn't really put an on-chain game on Ethereum. Even Ronin, which was the bridge for that game, I don't get right now the name anyway. They built an L2 and they had their own proof of authority nodes doing all the stuff. That's a good direction. So I would go into that one. So use not necessarily proof of authority, you could use your proof of stake mechanism, consensus. But going on in case of MultiversX, going on a sovereign shard where you try to write all the state changes on that sovereign shard, actually in a compressed format, but to make it public in a way that everybody who wants and makes deposits a set of stake on your sovereign shard should be able to participate in validating those state changes, signing the blocks and all kinds of things. And as in sovereign shard, you have the freedom of having, for example, special transactions without gas, because it's actually for running the game and keeping the history of the game and keeping the state of the game. You can all do these things for free for the cost of your private servers or every server which is running on the, for example, on the DAO or on the few people who are few or more people who are running your game. And I think that should be like some of the direction. And after that, for example, when a user inside your game wants to put up an item for a marketplace or do transactions which should be paid for in gas terms, then they have to sign and make the things in order to move a set of items, for example, from the internal marketplace to an Soxno-like big marketplace. Even for the internal marketplace on a sovereign shard, you could make it even free because it's internal. They are staying in the game, making all those changes, they are liking it. And then when they are moving a little bit out on the top of it, you put royalties and they are free to sell the things. That's how I see, like, from data perspective, the games to be fully on chain, because it will give a lot of credibility for them. And but this has to be done in like a sovereign shard, because you want to make these state changes in a certain way, and you want to make it fast and cheap in order for the game to not cost $200 per month or stuff like that. And so this is from the part of like game being on the blockchain. And speaking idealistically, the drawback, it's in general like how, not necessarily for this, but for the previous question, was that the onboarding. Right now, a lot of Web3 games, they require you to make a wallet, set up everything, do a lot of things, and only after that you can play the game. The game should work for that user, should create an account, and in the blockchain they would write the things for that account. And when the user decides to move into the blockchain because they won a big pot and they want to sell all their stuff, at that time they need to make a user an actual blockchain account and to put up their items, for example, into a marketplace. That's how I see. And so you would have the players who are directly from the from Web2 ecosystem, and the Web2 ecosystem, yes, they pay a premium because there is like 30% of fees on Play Store for everything you buy. But that's a thing. That's what they chose. You can show that if you move to directly one, the fees are much smaller.
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's something I would see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like the game engine, it should be somewhat open source in a way that validators to be to be able to freely run and validate those state changes. So it's important not only for the blockchain part to be decentralized and the token transfers, but actually the state changes to be.
Yeah.
That's
Exactly.
that's where we
Yeah.
can really say that a game
Yeah.
is a
Exactly.
Web3 game.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then like the community will get much closer because they are running, they are validating, they are part of it.
Yeah. 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 Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it sounds very, very good, and yeah, I totally agree that, as you mentioned, a Web3 game is more than just a game with a connect wallet button or things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. So you mentioned before kind of the financial part of Web3 games, and I want to dive a little deeper into this. If you can just explain very quick the concept of play to earn, or the newly like play and earn that we started to hear in the context of web on-chain games, and how do you see this model uh, impacting the current gaming industry? Because it has been here for a few years now.
Yeah, I think there is a little bit too much focus on earn. Quite speaking, from like, especially when you are checking these things from what you see on Twitter about Web3 games. It's always like people want to sell stuff like things to you, and if you play, then you will get rich by the next night. But a game should be about enjoying yourself. So earning, I don't think there should be so much focus on earning. If we look at the Web 2 traditional games,
Hmm.
there are a few people, the professionals, who are earning stuff, or those who put up, let's say, real work in a game, and they play 6 to 8 hours. But
Yeah.
they started to play those games because they enjoy playing in that game. They
Hmm.
didn't start to play that game to become professionals and earning stuff. No, the primary reason for them was to was to was to just play. And
Yeah.
because they like the game, later on, by becoming the top, like the top 1%, they started to get sponsorship because they were so good. I think that's something the Web3 community should go in a direction, because playing is more like, it's not about earning, it's about enjoying stuff. And yes, there was like the idea from the Axie Infinity, where, let's say, a few people who got money, but they did not want, and they would have liked to have bigger characters, would have paid for other players to create those characters, and those players would get money, and these users would get the big characters. That was a good idea. Uh, and I think other games will follow that idea as well, where I don't know, they are legendary characters which can be bought for a big sum of money, but in general, those who buy these things, they don't really have time to play the game, and they would lend out those characters to others to play, and they actually everybody is winning. That's a good idea, but again, it shouldn't be a lot of focus on earning, but it should be focused more like on gaming, on the enjoyment. But as we see, like from these models, it's actually like play to earn. You play, and by doing some stuff or having luck, you discover new items, and these new items can be sold in a marketplace for a certain amount of tokens. Or if the game has like an internal marketplace where you can sell it to the engine, and then they will give you some tokens, and those tokens, if they are listed in a decentralized exchange or stuff like that, then you can actually, they have like dollar value, because they can be traded and be used to buy not only internal game things but outside things. And uh, this is like a difference between Web2 games, because here, by actually playing, and you can get direct value which you can use to, I don't know, buy a flower for your girlfriend. In case of play and earn, the users have to do a little bit more. It's not only about luck, but it's about like doing all kinds of specific activities, reaching certain milestones, and only after that they will receive a certain NFT, and that NFT, or SFT, they have to sell it in a marketplace, and then that's how they earn. It's like this is the difference, that in traditional games you are not owning your item because it's in a database somewhere in a private data center, and it's not possible for me to sell that item and to enjoy the rewards of selling it and buying a pizza or stuff like that. But in Web3 games you can do it, but it's not. Again, I would like to say that I would not focus too much on this, because if I make the game pretty fun, then a lot of players will come, and an internal economy of that game will get up, and some items will be valued, others will not be valued, and that's a kind of nice social experiment. Back in when I was in high school, I was playing a lot of MMORPG games, and there was kind of nice to see how the internal economy of a game starts to build up, and the people are always searching for one common good which they are always trading. And that is a gem, or one type of item everybody wants, and everybody is like trading not against what you want actually. Like, I have a sword and I want a shield, I do not trade a sword for a shield. I trade first the sword for that one common good, and then that one common good to the shield. And that's how money, for example, come into the being in the earth as well. That's why, like, it's much easier to trade with money, because it's the common good between different assets. Right now, traditional games are getting worse and worse in terms of money, Because like 20 years ago, you could buy a game for $50 and you would get 2 or 3 DLCs for free. And you would enjoy playing that game for like 2 years or 3 years or 4 years. And it was like really fun to do that. Right now, like almost every game is pay to win, and like you are just getting to hate it. But I think because everybody is getting to hate it, that's where Web3 can came in and make a big difference. But like by making an actual game, having the users, let's say, pay for them with subscription or with normal stuff, and by doing that, the user should enjoy like all the benefits of the game. Like really not, I don't need to a DLC to go in this part of the land or stuff like that. No, you have to enjoy everything. And then by being the game being actually good and having millions of users playing it, you will have from that 1 million of users, you will have 1% of users who will pay to get better items. You will have another set of 2% of hardcore users who will play to earn, and then both of these things like will magically work.
Games shouldn't focus on the playing to earn side, because they will end up attracting the wrong type of players, let's say, because in reality, as you said, they won't attract players at all. And in the end, probably it will end up messing up their entire game, because those type of people won't probably actually play the game for long. So yeah, the focus should be on the game and on the gameplay itself, not on the play to earn side. And that should be kind of a side thing, because in general in Web3 assets have a value. So yeah. So besides ownership, by using smart contracts, on-chain game can offer a permissionless interaction with the game, meaning that anyone can really participate without needing the permission from a central authority to access the game or interact with the game. So what are some of the benefits of this approach, and also like what challenges do developers encounter?
These things only work if like your front end and the game state validation is run by a decentralized organization. So not if you have only a smart contract issuing a few tokens and giving to the users, but all the game front end and everything is run on your private servers, I still need permission from your central authority to enter, because I will not be able to like code my transactions into the game. Is just a pun intended, and now I'm just challenging this question, just for the whole community to move even to the next step and try to build these things like they should build, like how the decentralized worlds imagine it, and how a DAO should work really. Like a DAO shouldn't be only about like people reaping the benefits, but the DAO should be about a set of people who are actually there to do good for their community or that product or that game or stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yes, if everything is like on-chain,
done by the book,
open source, run by a community, run by decentralized nodes, then you have like transparency, security, ownership. But the last two things are one of the most important, I think. And it works only when everything is open source and in a set of like standard. You have programmability and interoperability. So like you make a base game, smart contract and everything, and like others can build on top of it. And that's I think
that's a huge thing.
If you build games where you have like word creation engines, how we would like to have and how we are doing on xWorld, That's where I think it's another big benefit, like
Yeah.
really like building those building blocks and being able to in the open world how in top of a DEX you can build a landing protocol,
Yeah.
and in top of a landing protocol you can build a leverage trading protocol, and on top of that you could do synthetic assets, and none of these companies have to be like staying one next to other next
Yeah.
to
Exactly.
another in an office, but they are in the
Yeah.
different part of the world. If these games are built in a set of standards, open standards, people can actually build on top of it. And we see on traditional games that when the only the mods, like modding a game, it's like open. It it's already it
Yeah.
creates like a bunch of people who are having fun creating and even making money by modding stuff. So imagine when you are much more free to make changes or to have new things or new stuff in an already open game, and what can this allow in a gamer community, like not only
Yeah.
modding but like really in an open world. I just can enter and build my own NPC and or set of NPCs which would open up a challenge. And
Yeah.
every week I build a new NPC and makes a new challenge. And you are just there and others can just play it if they want or not. But by making this, a lot of like creative people will get into it and start to try to build on top of what you did, and it makes somewhat nice.
Mhm.
Only if like these creative people will be better than ChatGPT, who will create like billions of NPCs and billions of billions of stuff inside your
Yeah.
game. But let's have the joke aside. You really need like you will have people who will be willing to add things to your game, and then others to enjoy that. And in that way, like it's almost like everybody wins. Even
Yeah.
the builder, the gamers, you as the base developer, everybody is reaping
Yeah.
those benefits.
Yeah, and yeah, it's awesome because basically each game in itself becomes a building block that anyone can use and build on top of it another thing. Like sky's the limit here, like extending games and building different, I don't know, smaller games on interacting with another one. And yeah, it's it's a new world. So you mentioned NPCs before, and this triggered something in my head. So how do you see, or what role do you see AI playing in all of all this new world like of Web3 games? Because you can do amazing things with AI. You can have, I don't know, NPCs controlled by AI. You can generate quests with AI. You can, and all of this can be, I don't know, custom or adapted based on how the user plays the game, for example. So, how do you see these two emerging technologies like mixing together in Web3 games? I'm talking about AI and blockchain.
I think that AI, by automatizing a lot of jobs, will enable creative people who can use that AI to create new stuff, will enable them to like build really unimaginable new worlds and challenges. And
Yeah.
this is like by AI will enable it by like make leaving much bigger time for that creative producer to actually produce than to like do the monkey work.
Hmm.
And So that's where I see this, like enabling people to do more creative jobs by using those tools. That's what
Hmm.
I mostly see. It's like, and after that you have like a better sense of like reality. It's like the NPCs really like another person who is talking to you because of
Yeah,
how the large
yeah,
language model, how good they are.
yeah,
And it's not like hard coded. You don't need to hard code
yeah,
all the
exactly.
interactions, but the direction of the interaction. And after that, everything should be like in a direct way.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So moving now to kind of privacy. This is a critical thing in general for a lot of users, particularly in the area of, I don't know, finance and payments. But it can also be the case of Web3 games. So let's take, for example, an on-chain poker game. Each player basically knows their own hand, but they shouldn't know other players' hand. So how can zero knowledge proofs, for example, improve security and privacy of Web3 games and on-chain games?
It's not necessarily about like zero knowledge proofs. It's like proofs and verifications
Yeah.
because proofs can be like anything and could be handled by other things. So in case of poker games, if I'm playing poker with my five friends and I just receive the cards, for example, I can make a hash of my cards by a set of methods and then send it over, and then in the end, by showing my cards, uh, everybody can verify that those cards were the real ones which I posted in like in the
Hmm.
at the first step when I received it. So, and you can make like a game like this because, for example, you have the dealer, and not even the dealer knows the cards, but you send the hashes, and only the
Hmm.
persons who supposed to see will get the actual value of the cards, and then in the end you have to like prove that these were your cards, and like making these kinds of things in an open standard where people do not have to think about, okay, how do I do this encryption and decryption and stuff like that, like the game developer, but they have it readily available to use. Then they will build these games much more faster. And even for example for finance and all kinds of payments, having a set uh, of anonymity
Yeah.
between your account and the actual payment, it's good because let's say you do not want to see your wife that how much your bike cost, or your car parts,
Yeah.
or your gaming gaming computer costs. But
Yeah. Yeah, but going even like one step further, for example, if I use blockchain right now to make payments, um, let's say I don't know, pay something and send some crypto for buying, I don't know, a computer, for example, that that merchant will then would be able to trace everything and kind of everything that I bought or kind of my
know everything
history.
about you, which
Exactly.
they already know in Web 2, but they are not saying it, but they actually know everything about you. Your data is sold like hundreds and thousands of times between companies. But yes, um,
Yeah.
it's good to have like anonymized data of your
Yeah.
own payments and to have a full system for it. But it's like a complex thing to do in a layer one blockchain, and you don't necessarily want it. but offering solutions to do that would be a thing. Like
Yeah.
really offering private payments for between, I don't know, between $0 to $100 or stuff like that, where it doesn't really matter that it's private. But after a certain sum, because of like how the rules in one country are, you should be public. And it shouldn't be like a problem of you being public or your account being public. The problem is whether somebody knows that your account is you. And
Yeah,
only
exactly.
a set of like verified entities should know that, not everybody. But that's another challenge in the blockchain to do it in the right way. And I didn't see yet anybody to do that on the right way. It will be a complex thing and thing to research and build up with
Yeah.
proven with proven identities who can do a set of stuff and others who can verify a set of stuff.
So, like going back to our games, we are starting to see now some of the first Web3 games on MultiversX. So, how do you see MultiversX fitting into the Web3 gaming ecosystem? So, what I'm asking here is like, what unique features does it offer for game developers? Why should they choose MultiversX to build their Web3 game on?
There are, I think, a lot of benefits here. So you start with scaling. Scaling
Yeah.
is easy. You have thousands of transactions. You have like shards, and you are getting to enjoy more and more transactions when it is needed. Then there is the sovereign shards where you can move all your when they will come out, you can move all your data there and you can run properly a decentralized game as it should be, a full Web3 game. And but on top of that, like the features of the ESDT tokens, that you have all these built-in mechanisms inside the protocol. You have the full NFT support, uh, upgradable NFTs, composable NFTs, NFTs owning other NFTs, these kinds of like building blocks which are a must for a big game because all kinds of things like I mentioned before would be used. And then you have another thing other smart contracts do not have, that you have upgradable smart contracts. So it's like really, really a smart contract. Come on, we are in a programming world. Does anything stay without upgrade? No, actually not. You want new
Yeah.
features you want to add. Now, and a lot of people building games, they can use their language knowledge if they build, for example, in Rust, directly to do the smart contract, and they don't really need to do much in the smart contract, or they can use a lot of modules which are already there, open source material, and maybe changes here and there. And I think these are like most of the fan benefits. I think sovereign shards will be the big thing here for like fully moving on chain, on chain all the state changes of a
Yeah.
game, and that will be like a game changer.
Yeah.
And as we like, for example, as we are a pretty fast moving company, people who have good ideas or have good feature requests they put in, we are we try to resolve those things. If not we, then the community is getting bigger and bigger, and somebody will take on that and will resolve those things. So that should
Yeah.
be good.
Yep. So how do you see the Web3 gaming industry evolve over the next few years, and what trends do you think will emerge with that, and also like what challenges do you think will arise? Because of course we don't have only good things. So you can look at this from two perspectives, like in general in the entire ecosystem, but also in MultiversX in particular.
I think we should get rid of we should get rid of the get rich fast games. Like these things, because
I see you really have a
inflation and
problem
they
with
will
those.
kill your game. And you really need like builders and long time games. For example, there is the traditional game like Eve. It's just going on for like almost 20 years, I think, or even more. And they are really real value there. And it's like there is a hardcore community which is spending thousands of dollars every month on that game. Um, that that is what I would imagine a good Web3 game is,
Mhm.
like Eve, and it should be about it. And the emerging like new trends here, I think will be the composability and like
Mhm.
uh, games where you could use. Right now, what I see is that where you could use NFTs from different communities. That's how they see right
Mhm.
now, but composability is a little bit more. I
Yeah.
think gamers will enjoy the X words and the word creation engine on this, because then people can actually build on top of what others did, and this will enable a lot of new things. As a particularity, sovereign shards will be interoperable, and NFTs is a defined standard on like on the MultiversX, so on sovereign shards as well, and you would be able to move every asset from here to there to build
Mhm.
all kinds of things and all kinds of merges between your games. In your
Mhm.
Giants Village, I could come up with my ape and upgrade an NFT where I see my village with 5 apes and 4 drifters or stuff like that.
Mhm.
Sorry if I'm not mentioning all the MultiverseX community NFT project.
Now we'll
It's
pause and you
just
can.
something it came to my mind because, you know.
Yeah, now we can start to list all communities.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, right now I think we are reaching an end. And the last question I want to ask you is about your vision for the future of MultiverseX in general, not specifically related to Web3 games. Like, what milestones do you hope to achieve in the coming years, and how do you see the entire ecosystem evolving over time?
So, as a vision, I see it to have billions of users. It's a must to reach it. And in terms of like to have seamless interaction for everyone, even easier than X Portal, but on X Portal, like it would be fun to see all my friends and family and even grandma to receive even her pension on X Portal and to use it seamlessly, like going and
Yeah,
paying
yeah.
directly without holding bank accounts and without holding bank applications. And it's possible. So
Yeah.
we will reach that point, and that will be fun. So, like using it in a day-to-day interaction wherever it all
Hmm.
everywhere
Yeah.
possible. That's what like finance and money should be about, seamlessly using it everywhere around the world without caring what kind of technology is under it. The same for all these games. So all these games moved into the blockchain. Let's reap the benefits of the blockchain, but without introducing the complexity and knowledge about the blockchain for every user. So users should really know about it, as we do not know all the protocols behind the internet, and not we, but most of the users do not know all the protocols and how one front end or stuff like that is written. It's like, and neither do we know, like when we push a button that some voltages will rise in our laptop, and that's what is actually doing and appearing in our complexion. So the complexity is big, and we do not need to know the complexity. And as the new AI emerges, blockchain will be even more important, like to have actual truth. And blockchain could be the where real governance and decisions are taken in a public environment where everything is open. Like we should see all those public administrative things on blockchain. I know it will not happen, but it's a good dream. But the public should be public, and for the public to be public and historically accurate, it should be moved to blockchain. Yeah, we know it's a really hard process to do, but in like a democratic vision, it's something.
Yeah. So thanks a lot for taking the time to be here today. It was an awesome discussion, and I think people will really enjoy it. You shared a lot of valuable information and insights. So I hope you had a great time today, and maybe we'll meet again for another episode in a few months or years. And
All right.
see everything
here.
that changed.
I'm quite happy to do this, and when you have interesting topics, we can discuss.
Yeah. Okay. So thanks a lot, and thanks you guys for watching. See you with the next episode. Bye bye.